All right. Well, looks like we're live here. So thanks for everybody that's joined. And as the attendees continue to file in here, we want to welcome everyone to the Google Hangout series here on Coach Carroll Sales Training. And we've got a very special guest today to kick this off. Shep Hyken is a international authority on customer service, as well as the National Association, or National Speakers Association president. So welcome, Shep.
Hey, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Awesome, awesome. So Shep, if you would, for the audience, people that may not be familiar with you, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your background so that everyone knows the powerhouse authority that you are on customer service as well as I do?
Well, you're being very kind, but I am a customer service expert and speaker and author. Written a number of books. The last book, Amaze Every Customer Every Time. I've been in business since, well, you can do the math, 1983. I've been in 31 years, almost 32 years now. Wow, that's hard to believe. And I had a lot more hair when I started, I'll tell you that. Now it's, yeah, I could see you're getting close to me, but you're still you got a little ways to go. Get rid of the sides.
There we go.
All right, but that's my background. I work with clients all over the world and just have a great time sharing exciting ideas on how they can develop stronger relationships with their customers as well as their employees.
Awesome, awesome. Well, Shep, and the people that follow me, they see that, on a daily basis, I'm always talking about the hustle and the grind, and, with frontline salespeople who I mainly work with and sales teams, it's very important. I say that sales is one part motivation, one part the knowledge behind it and being able to hustle and drive. So I try to really focus on the motivation of the hustle and the grind and really getting out there for the salespeople to be able to maximize their opportunities that they can create. And the reason why I wanted to have you on the Hangout today is because I think a lot of times frontline sales professionals, they kind of lose that customer service thing. And I have this saying that customer service kind of kills your sales performance, but that doesn't mean that it's not important. What I like to make sure people understand out of that is if you're just doing customer service phone calls all day, you're not really being a salesperson. Nonetheless, it is just as important to have that customer service backing for the sales. And often if you have great customer service, it boosts your referrals, which makes your sales job even easier because those are the easiest ones to close. So could you talk a little bit about how important it is and the benefits of having that great customer service support system to really how that kind of plugs in with as salespeople need to be remembering that and keeping that on the back of their mind as well?
Sure. Well, the first line that comes to mind from what you're saying is this. It's simple. The most abused customer is the sold customer. My friend Dr. Larry Baker told me that, gosh, way back, probably close to 25 plus years ago. And what he meant by that is that so many times salespeople in the sales process work to sell, 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 and then ultimately the word close comes to mind when they finally get the sale and they close the deal. And my concept has always been we don't close deals, we actually decide that's the moment the real relationship begins. That's when money is changing hands and we decide to move forward. The problem is many salespeople, and by the way, this has changed over the years because people are starting to recognize the value of customer service. And I want to address the term customer service in just a moment. But they recognize the need for the relationship building. And they recognize the need for things like, quick response and knowledgeable people and, the experience, the value that we can provide them by being helpful and knowledgeable. Well, that doesn't end when the sale is made. It actually, I think, it becomes even more important than ever. Every study you will look at will show you that it costs a lot more to gain a new customer than to keep an old one. You already mentioned the whole possibility of referability and evangelism on the behalf of your customer. But I want to go back to this word customer, or this term customer service, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So here's my line on this, or my idea, is the way you're framing customer service. You're framing it as a customer service phone call, like it's, I'm just following up, making sure you're happy, that kind of thing. But I'd like you to think of customer service in much broader terms. As a salesperson, we can call it customer service because there's a big component, but let's call it the customer experience. what experience do we want our customers to have? They're going to make them want to do business with us. Because let's assume that we have a product that works and does what it's supposed to do. And let's assume that there's competition that sells the same product. So the differentiator is going to be the relationship you have with that customer and how they're treated and the experience they have. And that's the value add that's going to tip the scales in your favor.
Right, right. Yeah, and that's great. It kind of, and I'm taking notes here as well because I'm learning from you even on this webinar. The thing is, you said something that really kind of popped in my mind is the close is sort of a handoff, right? So it's not like there's this gap everybody sits in, like you close a sale and they go into this bubble and then customer service plucks them out. It's more of a handoff to that, but the customer experience is from the very beginning till the very last day that you're a customer. And I think as sales professionals, sometimes we only like to focus on that front half of when the call comes in to when they sign the check. But we really need to be responsible and ethical about it to look at it through the whole spectrum. Would you agree on that?
Right. I mean, if all you're interested in doing is making a sale and never seeing that customer again, I can see where that type of thinking probably kicks in. But right. I would imagine most people have the opportunity to continue to sell, renew, upsell, add product, whatever. There's always an opportunity to keep that business going. I mean, even in my business where I'm hired as a keynote speaker, I usually am not going to be hired the next year or even the third year or second or third year after I'm finished speaking. But there's a pretty good chance if I've done a great job and that client stays with that organization and I stay in touch with them and perhaps I check in with them, hey, I know you may or may not want to use me next year at your meeting, and if you do, that's great, let's talk about it, but recognize I'm here to help you find another speaker if that's what I can do to help you. And when clients say, well, why would you do that? I said, because I know you're not going to hire me probably after you just had me open your meeting last year. I mean, sure, I've got a part 2 and a part 3, and I'd love to talk to you about it, but you already told me right up front you hire your speakers one time. Well, I think one time every few years maybe. So maybe, year 5 or 6, you hire me again. And I can tell you, I have many clients that have said, we don't repeat speakers, but 5, 7 years down the road when I've come out with a couple of new books, and I obviously have a lot of new content, they're going, okay, you've got something that you can share with us that's different than the last time.
Right. And I think as consultants, you and I, we have to understand that what we have now will never be as great as what we'll have 5 years from now. It's just the process of always improving, and I think it's really important for people that are in our line of work to keep that in mind so that our clients can ultimately reap the biggest benefit from that. Speaking to each other in other seminars, even though we may teach ourselves, it's also important that we learn as much. Shep, let me ask your opinion on something else. When you talked about staying in touch, in my coaching programs, I teach the FTP, which is the Forever Touch program, and it's kind of a creative system that I've came up with. How important is it in the customer experience? Everyone knows the sales statistic, or they should know that's in sales, that 80% of purchases happen between 5 and 12 touches, right? So right. How important is it from a customer experience? So I'm going to remove customer service out of my vocabulary. Customer experience, how important is it to be able to touch those clients down the road?
Well, I think that you, as a company, we need to analyze all the touch points that a customer has. By the way, there might be multiple paths that different customers take depending upon if they've never bought before, if they're a repeat customer, they may be buying a certain product that has a different type of experience than another product. So what we suggest our clients do, we sit down with them. We have trainers and facilitators who can go in and work in a meeting with salespeople, executives, whatever. We'll analyze what the journey map looks like for that customer. And by the way, that's a big popular term these days, journey map. What does that customer's journey look like? And on the top is where all the touch points are. These are where the customer actually will interact with anybody or anything tied to your organization. Underneath, you have something that I call impact points. Those are the systems, the people, the departments that actually impact that touch point. And I can go into virtually any company, and I could say, I will prove that every single person in your organization, even the people that feel that they're in the bowels of the basement that never have anything to do with customer contact, they impact that one of those touch points. And by the way, if they don't, they probably aren't going to have a job very long. But the point I'm trying to make on this is that even, well, I'll give you a great example. Let's use the airlines. I love talking about this because the whole touch point concept came from a gentleman named Jan Carlson, who wrote a book called Moments of Truth years ago. And in the book, he defined the moment of truth as any time a customer comes into contact with any aspect of a business, they form an impression. Hence, that's the touch point, okay? He then said that if you're not actually dealing directly with a customer, you're probably supporting somebody that is. Now, I call that, this is not a phrase he came up with, but I call that the impact, something behind the scenes. So using an airline example, he ran Scandinavian Airlines. If you were to check your bags, where do you live, by the way?
Louisville.
Louisville, Kentucky. So let's say I'm flying from St. Louis to Louisville. It's an hour-long flight, if at the most. Perhaps, actually, it's one of those cities that, depending on the time change, if you're going the right direction, I actually leave at noon and get back 10 minutes before noon. I love that. So it's a very short flight. So what happens is a little before the flight, I check in and I watch my baggage go down the conveyor belt in the baggage terminal. And when I land in Louisville, 45 minutes, an hour later, whatever, I go to the baggage carousel and there's my bag. Now, those are two touch points. I saw the bag, I handed it off to the baggage handler, and then I saw it again when it showed up. There's a lot that happens behind the scenes to impact that last touch point. And everybody in a company has impact on one or more touch points. And we need to recognize through a strong, detailed journey map exactly where we fall in that process. The next step is to take a look at where we have the weak links in the chain, if you will. I call those moments of misery. The goal is to eliminate or mitigate moments of misery. So the first thing is, let's sit down with all of our people and say, what are the top complaints that we hear from our customers? And then we'll just try and take the top 2 or 3 and say, well, okay, let's look at those. How can we eliminate? Let's look at that journey map. Where are they happening along the way? What's impacting behind the scenes that's causing that to happen? And let's start looking at ways to eliminate these negative touch points. Now, I know we're talking sales and we're starting to merge into customer service, but I got news for you. There is a negative touch point during the sales process. What's the likelihood that that customer is going to have, no issues with you whatsoever? No, they're going to second guess. They're going to question their decision to do business with you. They're experiencing something negative, and that's not cool. The goal is manage every touch point, make it positive, try to eliminate the friction, try to eliminate anything negative.
Right. And it's funny because it's interesting because when you look at the customer experience stuff and you said find that moment of misery, we often do that with the sales clients as well. And we say, in your sales process, what are your objections?
Right.
Because the easiest way to to overcome an objection is for it to never come up, right? Address it in the presentation so that it's never an issue. Same thing, I can see that with customer services. If you say, okay, what are the #1 reason why we get callbacks? Let's fix that and eliminate that customer service problem. I think that could serve huge benefits for a business if they could think of their top reason that people would complain or call back, to eliminate that. Wow, that's a huge headache you're taking off the plate, right?
Right. I love to use this example, and I use it in a different way, but I bought a ping pong table for my daughter. One of these really nice German outdoor ping pong tables. And I say German because it's important because when I opened up, the instructions were in German. But they had great pictures. But still, there was so much hardware and so many tubes and things that had to go together a certain way. I was stressed out over this. Well, I went to call the phone number, and of course, it's an international phone number. But eventually, when I Googled, I found a national phone number to try. Of course, I work during the day, so I probably would buy the ping pong table after I got off work and go home in the evening and set it up. Well, their hours of operation are primarily 8 to 5, so what's the likelihood I'm actually going to be able to connect with somebody? But what was interesting, when I finally did connect with somebody during the day, they said, sir, you should go on to YouTube and just type in the model number and the name of our table. And lo and behold, there was a video, in English by the way, showing me exactly how to put this ping pong table together. And after spending all this time, it literally took me less than an hour or so to finally put the thing together where it was finally finished. And I thought to myself, all they would have had to do is say, if you're having trouble, I'll write at the top of the instructions in big bold letters, go to YouTube and type in the model number of this ping pong table, and there's a video to show you how. We would have eliminated my stress, my anxiety, my having to call in the middle of the day, looking up the German number and then the American number. I mean, it's crazy, but we could have eliminated all of that.
Right. On something as simple as a YouTube video, which would have, one, would have saved that company money because they could have, comprised the directions into one flyer, right? Just one sheet laying on top with, here you go. And then using YouTube, which is absolutely free, and they could probably sell more ping pong tables because people stumble on the video. And then Shep would be talking about the ping pong table in his seminars going, let me tell you about this great customer service versus let me tell you a story on how they could improve.
Well, and it is a story about how they can improve, but at the same time, it's a great story. I think that the company's got the right idea. There's a little bit of the execution they can clean up. But imagine this. I mean, we're talking sales now. If during the sales process, I said to you, my prospect, I said, we get a lot of questions. Once the product, once you have it, you're going to probably have a number of questions. We actually have a YouTube channel dedicated to the most frequently asked questions. By the way, here's a list of the 10 questions that are most often asked. And by the way, we've got about 60 videos on there because there's obviously more than 10 questions. But here's the most popular questions that were asked. And I'd love for you, I know you're probably not going to buy today because, I'm just making this up now, but I'm just, let's say that it's a process that you're going through. But I'd love you to take this and take a look at the channel, and you can see the type of questions they have and how we're responding to them. And I think that's it's a great opportunity to show that, hey, this is a way that we add value. It differentiates us from our competitors.
Right, and to key in on that, I've actually got a client that I spoke with today. I was showing him some of the things that we use, like Co-Video and Screencast-O-Matic, and he said, DJ, I had this great idea. He does log home restorations. And he said, people always have, this, how much does it cost? Why are woodpeckers on the side of my home? All these different questions. And he said, when you start going on Google and typing this in, there are, these people have questions, and Google automatically starts telling you what the top ones are. He goes, I'm going to come in and do these screencast tutorials almost and post them on my YouTube channel so that people can just go and watch those before they ever make that first call. And talk about implementing the customer service and really setting the stage for that first initial contact. Their expectations are going to be so much higher for you than what they might think is really low level for your competitors. And in the sales process, it just really kind of differentiates you and makes you unique in the marketplace.
Yeah, I think you manage the customer experience from the very first point when they think about doing business with you, all the way through the life cycle of the customer. But along the way, you deliver great customer service. And I think the key is to show them and prove it to them how you go about doing it. If there's a way to prove before somebody buys the level of service that they're going to get, and that could come in many different ways. You can have them sample the product and the service. You can get them testimonials. You can just show them different ways. I think as soon as you prove it, so there's an old adage, and we'll get into sales speak here, although I think it ties very closely to customer service because I talk about it in a lot of my speeches, but it goes like this. People want to do business, or they want to hang around people that and there's 3 words: know, like, and what?
Know, like, and love?
Know, like, and trust.
Trust.
The trust part is huge, because I can get you to know me and like me real quickly. I have a reputation out there. My company's been around for years. I'm a sales rep for that company. So you're going to immediately say, I know the company. The guy shows up or gal shows up. I have a good personality. You're going to like me, but are you going to trust me? And trust comes over a period of time. And what people want in order to gain trust is they want proof. And proof comes from experience. Now, it's hard to prove it until they have the experience, unless you have different ways of them to try it out. And proof and trust are important. I guess the word predictability comes into play here too. Mm-hmm. I think as soon as the experience becomes predictable, so okay, I like the way it works. I like the way they treat me. I like their process or whatever. Now, is it going to be the same the next time and the next time? And as soon as it becomes consistent and predictable, you're earning that trust. And if you really have the trust of a customer, there's a pretty good chance that you're going to keep that customer. You'll be able to deal with price sensitivity. You don't necessarily need to be the lowest cost provider when the trust is there and they recognize the value. You'll have a chance when, hey, I really love doing business with you. I want you to know your competitor's coming in and they're offering me a substantial discount. Can we talk about how we can, I want to keep doing business with you, but obviously I have to be fiscally responsible. I'm going to get questions like that if I can build my relationship and it's tied to trust.
Exactly, and that is key because I always talk about obviously the prospect has to be sold on the person, the company, and the product. But I think that is one thing that not only being sold on, but they have to trust the person, the company, and the product or service as well. I think that's a very key point that you made there. And again, going back to my client, by doing that, it's something that goes, wow, this guy's going to put out this kind of information to educate us, before we even make the first phone call to them. I think that trust level automatically increases. Is that right?
Right. Absolutely. That's how it works. So, again, I'm going to use the words consistent, predictable, the know and the like. That's easy because here, and I'm going to stereotype Americans or people primarily from North America because I go all over the world.
Right.
The knowing and liking part of it is much easier here than in other parts of the world. And the trust, it's still, you got to prove it to me. And I'm from Missouri, and what is Missouri? It's the show me state.
Show me, baby.
Show me. So show me, and maybe you'll get me.
Gotcha. Well, good. Let me ask you one last question. We only got 5 minutes left here. What do you think about? I always tell my clients, I've got several businesses, but on one of my companies that is more of like a service-based business for end users, when we have issues that come up, I always say, just take care of it. Just do it. There should be no thought. It's just a reaction. If there's a problem for the customer after we're done, just solve it. And I always get the customers that come back and they go, DJ, we really appreciate how quick you are and how easy it is to get a hold of you, and on and on and on. But I always say customer service doesn't start until a problem comes up, right? Like everybody can have the greatest customer service department if you never have to call me. I think it's important. What is your advice for handling some of those clients? They've already been sold. They're already on board now. Something didn't go as we planned. What is kind of your key information that you can give so that the people watching can better understand, that's how I need to handle those kind of people?
Sure. Well, first of all, there sometimes in different businesses are the true customer service department, or I'd like to position it as customer service is not a department, but it's a philosophy. Sure, there may be a call center that people call to get their problems resolved, or a person dedicated in a small business to take care of that. But if you think about what your goal is to take care of the customer. So let's take a lesson from Disney. Now, the third part of this there's 3 parts to it, but the third part may not necessarily be applicable, but listen to what Disney says. Walt Disney felt that every employee, which he called a cast member, who comes to work at Disney has 3 jobs that they're supposed to do. Number 1 is they're supposed to do the job that they were hired to do. So if their job is to take tickets, it's to work the concessions, it's to help people on rides, whatever their job is, they're supposed to do that job and do it as well as they can. Number 2, they're supposed to take care of the guest, their customer. That's paramount, if not even more important than anything else that they do. Do the job they're hired to do, take care of the guest, and the third part is keep the park clean. You see a piece of paper on the floor or on the ground, pick it up and throw it away. That's part of the job too. Now, I don't know if the last part of that applies to everybody's business, but if we look at our jobs, and anybody who works in my company, their job, number 1, do the job you're hired to do. Number 2, take care of that customer or the client. Whatever they need, we deliver. If I get a phone call and they're asking to buy a book, that's really not something I should be handling, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make sure that I don't make that customer feel as if I've just handed them off. I'm going to talk to them. I'm going to get them excited about the book. I'm going to say to them, hey, give me your information, and here's what I want to do now. I'm going to pass you over to someone in my office, and they're going to take the last part of this to make sure we get it right. Because frankly, if I take this information down, there's about a 50-50 chance you're actually going to get your book. People laugh about it. You know what I don't do? I don't say, you know what, that's not my department. No, everybody that calls is a client. Everybody here knows they're supposed to take care of them. And that's the way it should be in any business.
Right, right. And you know, the one other thing, and it just kind of popped in my head with like retail sales. You know, I always say, if someone comes up to you and says, oh, well, where is such and such? Don't say, oh, it's on aisle 7. So let me show you. And walk them over there and say, do you have any questions about it? Because the person that's buying whatever it may be, you know, the widget on that shelf, they're just going to say, oh my gosh, so-and-so was so great. You know, Shep walked me over to the aisle, and even though he's the shift manager and it wasn't his responsibility, wasn't in his department, I'll tell you, that store is great. And that's just going to really expand. And I love the Disney thing. And with the keep the park clean, I think, although we might not always have trash that we can pick up, but if you kind of use that in a philosophical sense, keep the park clean, I think by keeping your business clean, so to speak, will make people want to do it. And I think that kind of will tie into some of that branding stuff. But, you know, no one wants to do business with a sloppy business, right?
Absolutely not. And so I want to go back. You had a great example of a retail store. So my last book, Amaze Every Customer Every Time, I used one role model in the entire book, and that was, coincidentally, since you mentioned a retail store, Ace Hardware. Now, why did I choose Ace Hardware? Believe it or not, you don't think of Ace Hardware perhaps as a rock star like Zappos.com or Nordstrom or one of these amazing customer service companies, but the reality is they are amazing. They've won 8 J.D. Power Award for excellence and customer satisfaction year after year. And their competitors, and by the way, these are small Ace Hardware stores, their competitors are Home Depot and Lowe's and all those big box stores. And they consistently survive, and they do it by being the most helpful stores on the planet. Now, you mentioned a great example. If I walk into one of these big box stores, there's a pretty good chance I'm going to get good customer service. Let me share with you the story, and I know we're running out of time, but this will only take a moment. I walk into the store, I say, hey, I need one of these, okay? It's a mouse, okay? And a person there says, well, hey, thanks, welcome to the store. Okay, let me tell you where that is. Go, as you said, down to aisle 7, halfway down, you're going to see them all there. And thanks for coming in. Now, most people would say that was a very pleasant experience. That's nice customer service. But that's not helpful customer service. Helpful is when I walk into the store and I say, hey, I need one of these, and the person who I walk in engages me right away, and they may ask me, hey, what can I help you find today? Which is not, can I help you, yes or no. It's like, what are you looking for? And when I show them, they go, oh, that's an aisle 7. Here, let me show you. What are you using this for as we're walking? What are you using it for?
Yep.
I'm glad you told me that. You know, there's another product you might consider. And by the way, if I walk in, I say, hey, I need a can of paint. They're going to take me back to the paint department, and on the way there, they're going to say, ask me questions. Is it outdoor? Is it indoor? All the questions. And then they might say, hey, do you need any brushes? Now, they're not making an upsell, although they are, in fact, upselling me by asking me questions of things I might want to buy. Do you need any brushes? Do you need a drop cloth? Do you need a roller? Whatever. Why are they asking me that? Sure, they'd love to sell me everything, but the most important thing is they don't want me walking out of the store, going home, looking at what I bought and realizing, oh my gosh, I forgot something. I wish they would have told me I needed this. So
yeah, I think that's important to think. So I guess we can leave it off with, you know, make sure that your customers don't leave your experience without the roller, right? So
right, yeah.
Yeah, you don't
the brush.
Yeah.
And by the way, it's like, it's a great upsell. You know, if they're buying a can of paint, offer them the brush, not just because you want to sell them a brush, but because they might need the brush when they get home.
Right, exactly. And that's you know, Grant Cardone, which I think you've spoken to him before as well.
Very well.
You know, Grant's big thing is he's that hard frontline sales guy that's, you know, always about the close, but he's, you know, his big spin on it with integrity is you close the customer not because you want to make the sale, but you're doing them a disservice by, you know, letting Shep walk out of Ace Hardware going, look, dude, I know you're going to be back in 15 minutes because you didn't buy a brush, right? So that's and it's great. That's why I wanted to have you on, man. I really appreciate you taking 30 minutes to spend with us today, and I've got about 7 or 8 Post-it notes worth of notes here that I'm going to have to dissect and put together. But I wish you well in the coming year, and I hope you and your staff have a very Merry Christmas. Is there anything you want to add before we go?
No, but ditto. I want you and your team to do the same, and just, let's get out there and let's just rock the world and create this, what I call, amazement revolution, which is all about taking that customer's experience and making it amazing.
Awesome. We'll leave it at that, Shep. I appreciate you stopping by, and appreciate everybody that's watching.
All right, my pleasure. Take care.